I think that is what really caused and broke my Jamaican connection, because I was recording for Lee Perry, and when Hurt So Good became, well, when it went on the BBC chart and I had to come over and thing, um, Perry and whoever he sent the record to London to somebody to let it out. It was DIP. In fact, he gave the record to quite a few labels because I've met other producers who said that they were to get Hurt So Good. Is me boss Hurt So Good? Is me whatever? But while it was being played one day, this um, British producer, well, he wasn't a producer then as such, Peter Waterman, worked for Magnet Records like a scout. And he liked the record and took it to Magnet and say, he think this is, and they must have made a deal over it and started playing it. And when it went on the top 100 and thing, they started calling me to come. So my aunt kept saying, another call came from London for you. I said, who? I didn't know anything until eventually I spoke to them and they said that the song is bubbling outside the top 40. We need you to come over. So I said, what about Mr. Perry? You know? So in the end, Magnet, who really made Her So Good a hit, they promoted it, they paid, they brought me over. I stayed in Holiday Inn for 3 months. They looked after me completely, and this record just flew up the chart. When the record was number 4, Trojan Records claimed it because Perry was a Trojan artist. I wasn't signed to Perry, I wasn't signed to Trojan, but they claimed it and they had a lawsuit and a case, and Trojan won it from Magnet. So at this point now, Magnet Records had to re-record Hurt So Good so they would have their version of it. And Peter Waterman produced it. And they also signed me. I was over there for some time, few weeks, and then before Perry came over, and they said you have to sign this contract to make this all legal that you're here and you're doing these things, and I signed it, right? So when Perry came now, Perry was so annoyed that I had signed it because that means Trojan didn't have my signature. He didn't have it either. And yet, up to today, they don't want, they use my voice and name and picture for nearly 19 years without giving me anything. But how I came to the second album was that Peter Waterman at Magnet Records, I needed to make an LP for them. They were really supposed to get Perry's LP. But when they found out that they could not, it wasn't his to sell them. It belonged to Trojan because he was a Trojan artist. They had to make their own. So with that, and I was signed to them. So that kind of broke my Jamaican connection. And I started recording this album with Peter Waterman, and a guy named Tony King was the arranger. Real highfalutin, high up reggae album. That says sophisticated reggae. That's what. But I remember the studio with all the musicians and going to work with the arranger. I wasn't in the headspace. Let me tell you, I was new, fresh, and green, honestly, because it's like this, just the little songs I'd been doing for Perry. I'd never sung live before. I just came on boom on TV and thing. But through the years, I've come to realize it's just a natural thing that I have. I just don't know. Because I went on that TV and sang, they thought I was a professional. Well, but that's how, and then we had a lot of, me and Pete Waterman butted heads a lot. And I wasn't really I would call a seasoned big time singer. I've never claimed to have any big voice or thing. Whatever it is, I just have a sound. I don't know. So Perry said, right? And when we were recording the album, Peter Waterman, picked all the songs. Some of them were quarrel I didn't like, I didn't want to do, and I gave it a lot of trouble. Plus, I was getting homesick by that time. I wanted to go to Jamaica. So he called it Doing It Her Way. It's like I won the fight. I don't- Plus, the kind of interpretation of the songs, because I was doing over real classic songs that he wanted me to sing. And some of them I can hear even now, the attitude when I was singing it. When you're doing something you don't want to do, you're just getting it done. So, but that album, I remember the flyers, some big posters used to be on the big red buses down Oxford Street. I'd be down there and see myself passing, you know, doing it her way. And they made the album cover. I did photo shoots because, you can imagine I was like 22 going on 23, just flown into this world of TV and people screaming at me and this photo shoots and interviews and thing, you know, and I just didn't fall into that kind of role. I didn't have that, and I still don't have it. I am a big time singer star personality. And there used to be even Peter say, Susan, you can't say that. I used to be very blunt and open. So back then, all the interviews I did had headlines Jamaican Cinderella or Jamaican Librarian in Culture Shock because I was so not negative, but I wasn't gung ho. And oh, yes, and I sang this in that kind of way. I said, no, I'm tired. I want to go home, you know. Yeah, man, doing it her way. But today, when I listen back on the orchestration in that thing, and to know that Peter Waterman went on to become such a famous producer and big company owner, PW Empire, and stuff like that, and that my little record helped start his career, and that he actually has it on his website. It's I suppose it's part of my resume that I was recorded by the great Pete Waterman. He does Rick Astley and now he does Kylie Minogue. Um, he interviewed me 2015, 2016, sometime back. His secretary got in touch with me. And when I think that Pete and myself used to walk into stores, he used to take me shopping for gowns to go on top of the pops. And now he can't, if I have to talk with him, he tells his secretary and she tells me that I tell her and she tells him. He spoke to me for the interview, and we spoke on the phone before, but I don't know. But he wrote a book once, and in the book, he said that I came to England with a bald head and a glass eye, and I've never forgiven him for that because it was not true. I had a low afro. Those days, afros were popular, and mine was low and very nice. And I wore glasses because I'm short-sighted from I'm about 9'10". And those days I didn't have ultra thin lenses or anything, so my lenses were thick. But they got contact lenses for me and fixed me up. Whatever. So I said to myself, if I ever get round to write my book, I will say what I really thought of him. But, no matter what, between Lee Perry and himself, they kind of made me have this career that I have today. So, peace, I took each of my producers, Lee Perry and me, Peter Waterman and me, Matt Professor and me, Glenn Adams and me, and I was going through them and I wrote long stories and they only one I still have is Glenn Adams on me. Because those days they had those big old time computers with the tower and thing. And mine crashed, and I didn't know that the hard drive could be saved or something, and I threw it away. So I lost all my writing. I don't even know if I can find Glenn Adams and me. And the things were long and funny, because I have this sense of humor. Sometimes it's a bit sarcastic, but yeah, man. Yeah, they always, like sometimes I put little flashes of memory. I post them on Facebook, and people say, Susan, when you write in your book, as I said, because I'm not one of the more well-known Jamaican artists and thing, I just didn't feel like, but it's so much I could tell, things I went through in Jamaica, in London, and through the years from I started singing again, little things that happened, you know? So, and I've worked with quite a few producers. So I have a lot of little stories and incidents, juicy ones and scandalous ones. Sometimes you don't even want to write them, but if you want, the book has to have sensationalism. You're reading Susan Cadogan book, oh, so and so. It has to have things like that. So you really have to be ready to tell the truth.
What was it like working with Mad Professor?
19, 19, when did I meet him? 1990, 1991. I had this album I'd recorded for myself. I've been really not paid properly or anything for my music. So my brother and myself decided we're going to produce ourselves. That's the way to go. But this is a funny business, and if you don't know it, don't bother. Because you don't just make a song and all of a sudden it's playing and it's a hit. Oh no, no. It's a long road, you know? So we made the music and had it. That's the album, The Chemistry of Love, that Paul, my brother, wrote quite a few songs on it. I was trying to find somebody to get this record out in UK. But when I met Mad Professor, for him to do that, he said, oh, it's a good record, but he want to make his own. He don't want to use that. So with that, he gave me a record deal, flew me out, and I recorded the album Soulful Reggae. That's what he decided to call it. And, to me, he was just trying to find a hit record, because I hear that when you have had a BBC hit, when you come out with a new song, they have to listen to it and review it to see if they're going to play it. So he sent over, I did this version of Fern Kinney Together We Are Beautiful for him, plus some original ones on this album. He was he loved to drink brandy, and what he mixed it with? A red syrup thing. I can't drink at all. And whenever I had a drink, I can hear it in the music. I didn't like that album. I'm my worst critic. I hardly like anything I sing. Something always wrong. But that album has on some songs. When I hear them, I shudder. Like when I sing Band of Gold, I sound tipsy, slurring and carry on. Although I love to slur when I sing. But he was quite pleasant. I went to Amsterdam and Germany with himself and the band Robotics and opened for them. And after that, we lost touch for some time. It wasn't until way back down 2000s that he asked me to sing another song, another album for him. I have 3 albums with him altogether. I also went on tour to Hawaii I did a lot of shows in the States with him. That's another whole long story. That's where I sang. My pleasant memory of Hawaii is when I sang on, they have Good Morning shows, BBC, Good Morning American thing. Well, I had Good Morning Hawaii. And I sang 6:30. We went to the studio and I sang, early morning people don't like to sing. But I sang this song, Baby, I Love You. I remember it. And the people loved it. And I got phone calls afterwards. And I always remember that. You like when people tell you nice things. Because basically, you're trying a thing. I would be the last person to say, boy, I'm a great singer and I can sing. So when people tell me nice things, I cherish them and remember them. Because I stopped singing. Singing has brought me so much heartache and tears and misery that I've stopped singing about 4 times. But something always happened that pulled me back in as if it was just to be. So eventually now, since I retired from University Library where I worked for 30 plus years, I kept on working because I couldn't earn from music. I have been cheated a lot. But people don't understand. They says the artist faulty too greedy for money. It's not that. You're greedy to sing. You just can't help it. Somebody said to you, boy, we go try do with this song, if anything we're going to give you this or we're going to that and thing. You say, okay. And you sing. Especially today, a lot of people want to collaborate with you, not basically to pay you, but just to see if something happens. And in this day and age, I mean, I sing a lot for people. In fact, tomorrow I'm going to record for somebody. I don't see, even Fever. This song I've sung quite a few times. Because when I do an album for people, I love to put new versions of my old Perry music on it. But I sang this doublet for a sound system out of France. And they liked it so much, they wrote us if they could make a 45 of it and they put it on this more modern kind of dub beat. And I'm telling you, if I wasn't so old, if I was a young, sexy thing with half naked belly button showing and legs up to my neck and whatnot, I bet you I get a big hit, right? Everything happen when it's to happen. So I'm still glad that at this age I can record and young people like it, you know? The other day I sang in Rome and my audience was young people. I did an album. When did I do it? 2016, 17 with a Canadian producer, Mitch Girio. A German producer asked him to produce a song for me, but that project fell apart and he wrote and asked me, Susan, I'd like to work with you. I've never met him. He is in Canada. I am here. He used to send the tracks I've recorded and sent back, and it came out as this album, The Girl Who Cried. And apart from Perry's album, it's my favorite album, and I'm not easily pleased, but I like it. And I did that, and I've collaborated with a band in Argentina and an Italian band. And one of my favorite things, it seemed like the other day to me, but it's long ago, was recording with Ken Booth, who I admire so much. And I have this beautiful duet of Love Story. And it's mine. I arranged to do it. It's my record. I gave it away practically for little or nothing during COVID when it was hard we weren't working. People don't understand. Let's look at you singing and think that you are these rich artists, Jamaican artists. If they don't work, they don't earn. They don't have ordinary jobs. That you don't get royalties every month. You have to go on the road. And during COVID, I sold the song to earn. And I'm sorry I did. I should have kept it. Because I got this notion in my head. You see, when I get a song in my head to sing of making love story, Where Do I Begin, to tell the story about Greater Love Can Be, made popular by Shirley Bassey and Andy Williams from the movie of the same name, Love Story. And I wanted to sing it as a duet. I asked Mad Professor if he wouldn't produce it. But, so in the end, I told my good friend, Wayne Harmon, used to be he is Chalice guitarist and lead vocalist. We have done a lot of work together. All my vocals for my past recordings is Wayne that has done them. I told him about my idea and he just laid this really great track all by himself. He played all the instruments, bass, the keys, everything. And I took it to Ken. I said, Ken, listen to this. You want to sing it with me? I remember Ken, I went down Ken's house and say, you hear that? Susan Cadogan wants to sing with me. He thinks the world of me. I think the world of him. It's so nice. And we went right in his studio and recorded this thing. I said, Ken, take it in one take, You don't want to hear the original. He said, just play the music. It was so nice. It's one of my special things. So every time there's a little lapse, somebody comes and says, Susan, you can sing this for me or dub plate or something. So I keep going. That's how I went through COVID years. And then after that, now what have I done? This album for this new record company. Oh, I hate that album. Oh, if I could buy every one in the world and mash it up so nobody can hear it. This is an album called Storybook Revisited, where they did over all my Lee Perry songs so they could have them. But it's so, oh, I am not a producer. Anyway, it is out there. I never liked that one. And that was quite recent. But today I've been trying to count, it's 13, about 13 albums I have. 13 or 14. 'Cause I did another one with my professor called Dub Showcase, which has on quite a few original songs. Because I never used to write in the beginning, but Glenn Adams is the one who encouraged me, and I found that I wrote quite easily. In fact, I could sit in the studio and you play the thing, and I just come up with lyrics right away, and we record it. That's how I worked with this band, the Slackers, out of Brooklyn, New York, a big ska reggae band, and I went on tour with them, with Glenn Adams. We did 34 shows. I recorded with them. I wrote the tracks and recorded them, and I put it on their album. Oh, I do some things just for the pleasure of it because there's no pay. But what? I don't I don't regret anything. I'm still battling with Trojan Records to find out. A very sad memory I have was being forced by some officials at Trojan back in 75 to sign something and I wouldn't sign it. So they made me put an X on it. And I'm not illiterate. Why they didn't pay me from 1975 to 1991? I didn't even know that the Perry album was out. I was in Jamaica gaily working until somebody said, Susan, look what I found on HMV at Oxford Street. I said, but where did that come from? And I have tried and battled ever since. But what I'm glad to know is not only Jamaican artists, but I say US artists and thing, everybody quarreling about record companies and their deals and how the artist is always just the last to ever. And you need each other, but you wouldn't have anything without the artist. Just even be reasonable. Why they must just wipe you out completely and don't give you anything, right? So, yeah, man.